Hey, so I want to talk about three quick stories that show the different ways that one can achieve success despite the many barriers and hurdles in their way. Because in my opinion, we have a lot of narratives in our world right now that tie us to some definition of success that are just inaccurate. And especially in exam season when we think that these exams are everything, it's easy to get sucked into those definitions of success. So I want to tell these three stories to kind of fight that wave. So the first story is of a friend who tried his hardest in high school. He had tutors, he had privilege, he was lucky in that way. And so he tried his best, and no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't get better grades than maybe a B, B plus average, A minus in quote unquote regular non AP courses. And he was demoralized. He was demoralized because he tried his hardest and he wanted to have the perfect grades to get into the best colleges, and he could never do it. He applied to college and he was rejected from basically every single school except his bottom two choices. He went to one of these schools, but he didn't give up. He kept working as hard as he could. His grades in his undergrad school were better than high school. He ended up graduating a semester early. He did leadership roles in different organizations. He had great internships over both his summers, and eventually he landed a full-time job at a major tech company right out of undergrad, and he's been there for the past 6 years, absolutely crushing it, right? And so there's a story of someone who tried their hardest and never had that version of success handed to them, but still went and chased it. Then there's the story of a friend who had an invisible mental health condition that no one, including his family, realized when he was in middle school and high school. And so despite how hard he tried in middle school and high school, he wasn't able to adequately focus. He wasn't able to overcome these demons that were holding him back from performing well in school, and he struggled. Words like hopeless, stupid, dull, all sorts of things were hurled in his direction by extended family, by people in the community, just writing him off as somebody who was stupid because they weren't performing well. He took pre-calculus twice. His grades were mediocre, but he didn't give up. He got rejected from every college he applied to except one, and the one he got into was for a major that had no foreseeable job prospects. Still, he went. During the last year of high school, he successfully worked with a psychologist to diagnose his mental health condition and then began working on managing it. So he goes to college and suddenly he's doing great. And he starts excelling like he's never excelled before. He gets the best grades possible. He transfers majors at his university and eventually transfers universities entirely to one of his previously in high school, one of his dream colleges. Graduates essentially the top of his class at that college, went on to grad school immediately, and right now he's in his last year of his graduate school program and loving it. And then there's the story of someone who had quintessential success. Perfect grades in middle school and high school, valedictorian of high school, got into all the top colleges for the most part, went to one of these top colleges and excelled there, did internships at law firms and some of the best public government agencies that were available, got the best grades, were accepted into law school straight out of undergrad, graduated a year early from undergrad. If you don't know who we're talking about right now, we're talking about me. Graduated law school at 24, went off to work at one of the top Bay Area law firms, and within 3 years of starting their legal career, realized that their mental health was on the cusp, realized that they were burning out and they weren't passionate about what they were doing, and quit outright to focus on mental health, advocate for mental health, and explore their interests outside of law and in general, taking things in a very different direction. And so when you think about these three stories, you see a lot of parallels here, right? You see that success, first of all, is something that you can never judge from the outside, because the one who quote unquote has it all together maybe is struggling the whole time and no one else knows it, right? And the ones that you say, oh, well, that one, that person didn't really get the best grades. Well, it turns out in the end, they were just fine because they were very good with people and they ended up being wildly successful. And of course, we can't judge folks who we think or perceive as maybe are dull or don't have what it takes when we have a system that fails to recognize and adequately assist those folks with invisible conditions. Still, what's important to remember in all three of these stories is that success comes in different shapes and different sizes and different forms for everybody. And it's unfair for any of us at any point in time to judge ourselves by looking at somebody else, because we never really know what's going to happen in the future. And we never really know what's living behind the mask of the person that we see in front of us. So no matter what your story is out there, just know that it's in the process of being written, and you'll crush it no matter what you do. Much love. And subscribe and throw a like if you want to. Love you guys.